today in Scotland, as you likely know, at the age of 96. She was the longest-serving monarch in British history. She was born in one world and died in another. It's not easy to maintain your dignity while living in the public eye. Most of us could not pull it off for an afternoon. Queen Elizabeth did it for more than 70 years. I want to ask you all, she wrote shortly before her coronation.
You can recognize the monarchy as an institution as problematic while still understanding the necessity of it in countries that have built their constitution on it, i.e. Canada. Wait, what do you mean? No, you can't. No, I can't understand the necessity of it. It's just fucking ridiculous. Especially if you're in Canada. It's additionally ridiculous. You're so cucked. You're the most cucked motherfucker on the planet. Get out of here. You're just describing how cucked you are by slapping on a word like necessity.
In 1953, whatever your religion may be, to pray for me on that day, to pray that God may give me wisdom and strength to carry out the solemn promises I shall be making, and that I may faithfully serve him and you all the days of my life. For the most part, she did just that, and that was not a small achievement given the period she lived in. The week that Elizabeth was coronated, Edmund Hillary, a British subject from New Zealand, a beekeeper, became the first man in history to summit Mount Everest. The achievement seemed symbolic at the time, Britain on top of the world. But in fact, Britain was already over, whether the British knew it or not. To this day, Britain claims to have won both of the 20th century's world wars, but together they destroyed that nation forever. After victory came humiliation.
Oh my God. Is he saying that decolonization was awful and bad because it ruined the Britain? Oh my God. That's one of the most insane things I've ever heard. He just straight up, dog, he's just straight up saying that it was actually better. They blew a 13 colony lead, and it was so, like, when I say England blew a 13 colony lead, I'm making a joke, right? Tucker Carlson's like, no, seriously, it was so good. What the fuck, you fucking idiots. I did not predict that. That is a layer of white supremacy that I did not think that Tucker Carlson, who is an American white supremacist, so I did not think that an American white supremacist would say that.
The empire evaporated, and along with it, Britain's self-confidence and ultimately its self-respect. It's hard to believe now, but Britain wasn't always a regional banking center/refugee camp. It was a real place with a history and a language.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it.
Genuinely remarkable people. A country in the North Atlantic the size of Alabama that somehow took over the world and ruled it with decency unmatched by any empire in human history. The British Empire was not perfect, but it was far more humane than any other, ever. It's gone now, barely even remembered. Queen Elizabeth II was the last living link to a truly great Britain. Today on social media, the usual ghouls celebrated her death. Quote, "May her pain be excruciating," a Carnegie Mellon professor called Uju Anya wrote on Twitter of the Queen. "May she die in agony." Various know-nothings in the media, including a columnist at The Atlantic and a couple of employees of NBC News, seconded that thought.
That's the ghouls are out to gloat over her death. By the way, remember, these guys love talking about like some fucking random college professor that got fired over free speech, right? That's like 90% of the content for all these podcast people. And look how they treat someone who just got fired over their fucking exercising of freedom of speech. She didn't even say anything wrong. She said everything right. She didn't even lie. She did not tell a lie. She didn't even embellish. When she said the chief monarch, which is true, of a thieving, raping, genocidal empire, which is also true, is finally dying, may her pain be excruciating. That part is the insensitive part. Okay? That is the insensitive part. And not a single motherfucker is like, wow. It's so fucked up that she's like, now people are asking for her to be fired from her job. Or Twitter immediately fucking banned her. Took her tweet down. Good job, Jeff Bezos freaked the fuck out over it. Tucker is not responding to the Jeff Bezos thing. I wonder if he'll mention that because, you know, Jeff Bezos is his enemy, right?
The British Empire was evil, they wrote, apparently totally unaware of what came after.
Tucker really confirming the ordinary Americans he signals to are just truly just white people, nothing to do with being American? Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Ordinary Americans? You think some motherfucker in West Virginia gives a shit that this old broad croaked or not? What are you, fucking crazy? No, that's just a way to uphold white supremacy. It's a beacon, a figurehead for a white supremacist empire, and you are upset that a black woman, a college professor, said some fucking true things and maybe a little bit of insensitive things in the aftermath of that. But remember, British Empire, unmatched decency. Ghoul, person who calls out correctly that the British Empire was genocidal, raping, and thieving. Sorry, her account is still up. They just deleted her tweet and then suspended her for a brief moment.
After it. And speaking of what did come after the British Empire, how, for example, did Africa fare after the British left? Let's see. Uganda got Idi Amin.
Oh my God, he's not going to fucking do this. Emancipation was bad for black people. That's what he's saying. I wonder if there was a precursor for that. Maybe when you fucking, do the genocide and the theft, the resource extraction, and then continue to plant and install motherfuckers who are your guy, your puppet fucking leaders, then at the end, it doesn't fare really well for those people, especially when you continue the colonial subjugation. Maybe not under the same banner of imperialism. Well, not imperialism, but, colonialism, but under a neo-imperialist banner.
Who was a cannibal. Rhodesia became Zimbabwe and then became the poorest country on the planet under the racist lunatic Robert Mugabe. As of tonight, South Africa is still being run into
Rhodesia
the ground
call
by an
out.
incompetent kleptocrat called Cyril Ramaphosa. So it's hard to see any of that as an improvement because it's not an improvement. Sorry, Atlantic Magazine. And now, of course, the entire continent of Africa has a new master, the Chinese government. China is the latest colonial power to dominate Africa. Its subjects will be pining for the British soon, assuming they are not already. In an ideal world, there would not be empires. No empires, only sovereign nations. But we don't have that world, and we never have had that world, going back to at least the Assyrians, 1400 years before Christ. In the real world, the one that we live in, strong countries dominate weak countries, and that trend shows no sign of changing. The very least you can say about the English is that they took their colonial responsibilities seriously. They didn't just take things, they added. When the US government withdrew from Afghanistan after 20 years, we left behind airstrips, shipping containers, and guns. When the British pulled out of India, they left behind an entire civilization, a language, a legal system, schools, churches, and public buildings.
China is not Chinese colonialism, which is not even the same as like what the West has done to Africa, regardless, but we're not going to get into the weeds of it, is not good for Africa. Yes, Tucker Carlson is openly stating that Africans are barbarians, or he's implying that Africans are barbarians, right? And that they need masters. He even used the term master very specifically, okay? He's saying that these uncivilized hordes need a civilizing force atop them, okay? On top of them, teaching them, educating them on the ways of how the Western world, which is supreme, he says, lives, okay? Well, it's just racism. But of course, when the Chinese do it, because in his world, he's saying China is doing the same thing, when they do it, it's not good because they're not white. That's it. You have to literally look at exactly what he's saying. He's saying that Africa needs a white master to keep it in check and civilize it, be the civilizing force. But when it has a Chinese master, which is doing the same thing in his mind, which I don't think they are, but still, it's not good. It's only good when the British Empire did it. Because the Chinese people are not white. Okay? That's it. That's literally it. That is the main point here. Okay? Well, he's going fascist. No, he's always been a fucking fascist. It's just like he's always been a white supremacist. Kind of true, though. Wow. I mean, what an incredible take. Kind of true, really? You know what would be infinitely better for every African nation? Not to have been fucking enslaved for centuries. Maybe I'm a little controversial with this take, but I feel as though not being colonial subjects and being raped and stolen from endlessly. And having that theft and genocide and rape be justified exactly with the same words that the people doing that rape and thieving and genocide were actually doing it for good because there was a civilizing genocide. Using the exact same words that Tucker Carlson is using right now. Okay? If that had not happened, I wonder what would have happened. If there was trade to be had. If there was trade to be done with African nations, some of which were some of the wealthiest nations on the planet, as a consequence of their ripe natural resources. But we will never know.
All of which are still in use today. Here's the train station the English built in Bombay, for example. There's nothing like that in Washington, D.C. right now, much less in Kabul or Baghdad. Today, India is far more powerful than the UK, the nation that once ruled it. And yet, after 75 years of independence, has that country produced a single building as beautiful as the Bombay train station that the British colonialists built? No, sadly, it has not. Not one. So despite what they may...
Oh my God. Dude, this is so... Dude, this is literally just straight up nerdy fascist shit. This is like what all these fucking dildos on 4chan poll talk about. They're like, look at the beautiful architecture. It's like white supremacy is baked into every facet of our existence, and that implies that even white architecture is better than brown architecture. You understand? Millions dead. But hey, listen, Taj Mahal, who cares? Millions dead, who cares? Colonial subjects getting fucking owned endlessly, but also very cool train station. There is, I don't know how to describe it. Like, Tucker Carlson is spitting so fucking hard right now with respect to white supremacist agitprop that it's kind of taken me by surprise. You know? This is a new layer. I mean, this is, whew. Next level white supremacy. You're like a white supremacist history nerd.
may be claiming on Twitter tonight, the British Empire was more than just genocide. In fact, the British did not commit genocide, except arguably against the Dutch during the Boer War. The British did give the world the Magna Carta and habeas corpus and free speech.
Dude, that's the same thing that fucking Charlie Kirk said. He's saying the same thing that Charlie Kirk said. It's exactly the same shit.
They helped end the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the ritual murder of women.
They did the transatlantic slave trade. What do you mean they helped end it? Oh my God. Yo, white people stay on top, dude. You know what I mean? Hey, I know that white people did the transatlantic slave trade, but also they ended it. Think about that. That's crazy. Are we going into the conservatives want a monarchy phase? Conservatives have always wanted a monarchy because the monarchy represents white supremacy. Hello. This is why I was so fucking adamant about saying smoking on the Queen pack yesterday. I know a lot of people didn't understand it because they don't know anything about the Queen and they don't know anything about British Empire and they don't know anything about fucking, they just see like a lovely old lady who's got a fuckload of great PR around her that 80% of the fucking country supports, like in England, right? And she's dying and you're like, oh, making jokes about her death. How dare you? How stupid? How fucked up? Maybe those people, if they come back to the fucking chat now that they're like angrier, now that they're less angry about it, will recognize that they were defending this, okay? Because this is the white supremacist fucking approach to the monarchy. Of course he's going to defend it.
Widows in India. The British Empire spread Protestant Christianity to the entire world. It published some of the greatest literature ever written and produced the finest manufactured goods ever made anywhere at any time, including now. It was an impressive place run by impressive people. We will see many empires going forward, but we will never see one so benign. That's true. And because it's true, the people who would like to run the world in a far harsher way would like to make certain that you don't know it. And so they destroy the evidence that ever existed. Here they are tearing down a statue of a British philanthropist in the UK 2 years ago.
A British philanthropist? Dude, I can't do it, bro. That's a slaver, dog. That's a literal slave trader. What the fuck? That is a slave trader, man. That's fucking nuts. I mean, it's so obvious what he's doing. I want to fucking die when I see this shit. Like, this is the most popular broadcast on the fucking planet, dude. God, I can't, like, I watch a lot of brain-rotting conservative commentary, but Tucker Carlson is a special demon, okay? I think about the impact. I think about the impact that this fucking piece of shit has. I like that he denies every single genocide the Brits did except the one against white people. Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious what he is doing. It is very obvious how he is tailoring his rhetoric. I mean, he just said this, a famous slave trader was a philanthropist. Why do you think he didn't say they took down a statue of a slave trader? Because if he had said that, even most Americans who are not as aligned with fascism as Tucker Carlson would be like, okay, well, that's not like the worst thing. You know what I mean? They wouldn't, like, because Americans still think that they don't have a racist bone in their body, even if they are upholding white supremacy without realizing it.
Destroy the statue, erase the memory. That's why they're doing it. Slander the ruler, discredit the entire period she lived in. And that's exactly why they're attacking Queen Elizabeth tonight. Not because she was a bad person, she wasn't a bad person, but because she lived during a better time.
Here, there you go. I hope that clarified it for Tucker. The statue was of Edward Colston, okay? This ugly motherfucker. English merchant, slave trader, philanthropist, and Tory member of the parliament. Okay? I wonder why Tucker Carlson just kind of overlooked that part. Perhaps it has something to do with his worldview, his guiding principle, the underlying white supremacist ideology that motivates his fucking rhetoric every night. Honestly, his viewers would have been more angry if he said he was a slave trader. No, dude. Americans, you're failing to understand that, like, Americans might actually have white supremacist social conditioning, right? But there's a difference between, like, overt racism, like getting mad at a fucking slave trader, a British slave trader nonetheless, and a statue of that being toppled, versus like the Confederate generals who, like, you know, were fighting for heritage, not hate, because of the social conditioning that they got about those slavers in the South. Americans still, on its face, they think, no matter how racist they are, they don't think they're actually racist. You understand? Tucker Carlson's nasty rhetoric. Tucker Carlson's nasty rhetoric relies on his audience being as fucking ideologically inclined with fascism as he is. Americans are like casually ideologically aligned with racism. It's just from their social conditioning. Like, that's the reason why most people fucking immediately react like, wait, I'm not racist. That's crazy. Oh my lord. Oh, Schadenfreude is in. Our Indian chatter tuning in. What is this shit? Every line is wrong. Millions dead. They didn't afford democracy or free speech and fought every step of the way for every concession to be made regarding democracy to its colonies. Regularly banned revolutionary newspapers. Jailed peaceful protesters like Gandhi, Nehru. What fucking use of Magna Carta or free speech? Yeah, Indian chatters are popping off today. Lol, you're racist, and if you don't agree, it's because you're racist. My man, I'm literally talking about fucking a slaver, dog. Like, the word slave trader is on the screen right now. I mean, what do you want? Like, if a slave trader that is like selling human beings is not racist, like, who's racist? That's crazy. Like, how are you here? You saw the word slave trader on your fucking screen as we're talking about it. You're like, I guess you think everybody's racist, huh? So every German is racist because of Hitler, not British in one basket. You need education, LA. What? Uh-oh. Baby F.